Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to The Chosen Chronicles. FTW's hottest podcast and its host Connell Gardner is about to take you behind the scenes of the FTW's biggest stars. Get ready, listeners, because here he is, FTW's chosen one seed PG himself, Connell Gardner. 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I have to say back, it's amazing, to the very second only episode of the Chosen Chronicles here with me, the Chosen One CPG, or Connell Gardner in this case. Today's guest was a Destiny champion for over 100 days. Main event at WrestleMania 37, and to be honest with you, probably one of my best mates that I can go to for anything within this company. And he's one of the best storytellers within FTW. Again, like the Pinnacle, member of the Den of Deceit. Most of you know him better, though, for Little Enterprise, known as Tyson Holly Enterprises. Ladies and gentlemen of the FTW and surrounding universes on Spotify or any other streaming services that you're listening to, or listening to this on, I should say. My guest for today, Mr. Tyson Holly. Adam, how are we?
Hey, man, how you doing? I am doing pretty good. Tired, but I'm always tired at all times.
That's all that work for you, buddy. Hardest working man that I've known.
It's just, just who I am.
Okay, so as basically we have spoken before, and this podcast, especially the Chosen Chronicles, is designed to take the mask away. So everybody here knows you as Alan Duncan for SFB fans, or as Tyson Holly for us in FTW. How did you come up with the different characters and especially the names? Because that always intrigues me, how anywhere you go, you seem to have a different name for each character.
I do. So the thing is, I'm doing these games so that I can play characters that I would want to play if I was really wrestling, which I was almost going to do at one point, but that's a story for later on if we get to it, or another day. But so Alan Duncan, the name for that, when I was growing up, I had about 70 different wrestling characters throughout my whole time. I had the top ones there was a guy called Hurricane Rana, Hurricano, who did a Hurricane Rana, and he was they all had stupid colors and stuff like that, but I had fun with them. I had Mexicabro, which is almost certainly cultural appropriation these days, but I was 12. I had Silver Sadist when I thought I liked pain. Quickly found out I didn't. And then eventually ended up with Alan Duncan, who was originally some 30-year-old from Alabama with this ridiculous mustache and just thought he looked good on 2K and just ran with him. Then I started actually training to wrestle in my actual life. So that was the character I was using at the time. So that was the name I was using. And then and then I found Cultaholic and Woke Culture, and they did these predictions for each pay-per-view. And I was like, that is so fun. Let me see if there's a league or something I can do that with, because that seems really fun, and nobody around me watches wrestling because all my friends are really lame. Just kidding. But and then I found FSB, which I can't remember what that stands for, but I'm their current world champion. I've been their world champion twice. I've been their US champion once. 24/7 champion twice. That's really where all of my champions been from, but I don't really do this for championships. I do this because I like stories. And then I was in FSB. This story does have a point. I am getting somewhere.
That's
I
all
know
right.
it's
Work
going on
away.
for
Makes my life a
but
whole lot easier. Work away.
but so I was in FSB, and there was this character over there named the Messiah who had started playing recently, and I liked what he was putting out, and I worked with him a little bit, but he could not win a match, and I was like, please win a match so I can do something with you because I'm a champion. I would like to defend against you. I think we would have good promos. Please win a match so I can do that. And then he was like, hey, I actually just started running this league called FTW. Do you want to come over here? And so the man known as Byron Hinton brought me into FTW, where I started a character over there. I don't want to play the same character over here that I do over there because that's boring to me. I want to play a different character here and a different character there. You will never see me play the same character in two leagues if I can help it, because I like getting the opportunity to play different characters.
I think that's actually quite amazing in your thought process, because there's plenty of us, like, well, I know myself that in the last sort of 5-6 years I've been involved, like I said in the last pod, with a lot of different leagues, a lot of different people, but there's always been that one constant for me, and
Mm-hmm.
that's always been the chosen one. And so when I see people like yourself that have that creativity to not only succeed as Alan Duncan, but then come to FTW and create the Tyson Holly Enterprises, and build that
Mm-hmm.
character. And as you said before, you had, I go on to say, hundreds, possibly, characters in your head throughout your teenage years. And that sort of
Mm-hmm.
brings me to a question. When you were growing up, what sort of age did you start watching? Were you an early sort of fan where um a family figure or a best friend said, "Look at this," from a 5-6, or are you a late sort of fan? Or
So what happened with that is actually kind of an interesting story. So when I was in elementary school, I had one friend, and that was pretty much it. But we're still friends to this day, so it was one that counted. Uh, and we got messed with by the athletic kids because we were not the athletic kids, even though we screwed around on the trampoline. But that doesn't count for school sports. But in elementary school, they were like, "You nerds," or something like that, and I responded with, well, at least we don't watch stupid sports like wrestling. And that was like the first sport that came to my head. So I just threw it out there. And then my best friend goes, actually, I've been watching for years and you never knew this. And I was like, oh, cool. He's like, you want to check it out? I'm like, sure. Why not? You like it. I like most of the stuff you like. Let's try it out. And now I like it more than he does, and he doesn't watch anymore. And I still do.
yeah, well, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Not the whole bit before, but sort of that camaraderie between you and your friend to this day, of him not wanting to tell you in case you said something,
Mhm.
and it turned out that when he said it, you went, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll watch that," because I'm sort of the same as that. Not many people, because I play a lot of sport where I am and stuff like that. Not many people know about this side of me,
Mhm.
and it's one of them. Not I don't keep it hidden. Just I don't tell you if you don't ask.
Right. Yeah.
So it's one of them ones that when people do get to know me or do see me do stuff like this, that they actually go, "Oh, wait, you do? How can?" And then it's just a weird sort of thing for me. So growing up, you're roughly the same age as I am.
Yep. I am 22 at the
So
moment.
for the listeners that listened last time, I'm 19. He's 20. He's 22. We've only ever grew up potentially with maybe 2 or 3 promotions. One of them being the major one of WWE.
Yeah.
Impact, TNA were sort of, they were there, but they weren't sort of as
Yeah.
mainstream as
And
WWE were.
tangentially aware of TNA. I've seen 3 episodes of TNA in my life. None of them were right after each other. I think there's
Yeah.
like a 5-year gap between each one. I've actually seen quite a bit of Ring of Honor around like 2014-ish, so more than anything else probably than WWE.
Yeah, and then especially because you said you trained, so I take it that you went to indie shows, or were you
Um,
sort of just a
I
mainstream kind of guy that went training?
I didn't get to that part. So what happened was I had just turned 18 and I was in the car with my mom and she was talking about what I wanted to do with my life. And I was like, well, one of the main things, I said it as a joke because I knew she wouldn't go for it because we talked about it before. And I was like, well, on the side while I'm wrestling, on the side, I could do this job. And she's like, no, you cannot wrestle and you will not wrestle. And most of the time, if she said something like that to me, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing that. For some reason that day in my head, I was like, oh, I'm proving you wrong. I'm going to wrestle. So I looked up a wrestling school. It's called Firestar Pro Wrestling Academy. It's where Cedric Alexander trained. Griff Garrison, I trained with him for a brief period. He was far ahead of me, obviously, but we trained in the same ring. I've clotheslined him. He's clotheslined me. Uh, and I trained there for 3 months. And then 2 days, I think, one training session away from when I was supposed to debut in a battle royal. My mom found out that I was doing it because obviously I didn't tell her because obviously she wouldn't let me. And she was like, no, you cannot do this. You don't have insurance, which was news to me. You're going to hurt yourself. And I'm like, didn't care about that part, but it was a whole thing. She'd call me over and over the whole way up there, throw me off my mindset. I didn't debut. I didn't go. And then I've tried to go back, but I got out of shape and it was a whole thing. But I was about to debut for them, and then I was gonna start going around helping set up rings and stuff. Just get my face in people's heads, get my name in people's heads, stuff like that. I was right there, and then it just evaporated.
Yeah, well, that's just the way that I sort of look at that is, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. Hopefully, maybe one day we'll see Alan Duncan, maybe Tyson Holly in a ring.
Yeah, probably the
And hopefully the
character of
FT.
Tyson Holly with the name Alan Duncan.
Okay, well that's fair enough.
Probably.
As long as your FTW family get an invitation to your debut, then I'm happy. I will happily fly out. But just sort of going back and just
my dream match against Evan, against DTX.
Yeah. Well, like going back and we said about you training and your mum wouldn't allow you. I've done little bits here and there, and I sort of want to get back into it when COVID decides that it's going to leave us.
Mm-hmm.
What about the first bump? Talk me through it.
Okay, so the first bump, he goes fall down, and I just kind of throw myself back, just any kind of way. Because the funny thing is, I did theater for about 10 years before I started training, and I was like the go-to guy to do stunts. I was in a show of Oliver, and there was this bar scene that my mother was in the scene in the background and signed off on this. And I was standing on a table, and the villain, Sykes, would come up and every night would grab me by the shirt, throw me overhead to the ground, and I would crawl off in the shadows. And so, like, that was my first stunt. But nobody ever told me how to fall. They just were like, he's going to throw you. Just get out as soon as you
just go with it.
Yeah. So I didn't even conceptualize that there's a way to do that and like not hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So then I took a bump, and he's like, I fell, and he's like, okay, yeah, no, that's not what you do. So then he explained it like Bobby Lashley doing his pose, where he'd like bend over and then put his arms out, and you land like that. And I tried that, and I picked it up pretty quick, actually. I was a fast learner. Uh, I picked that up. What's so much worse than bumping, in my opinion, are chops.
Mm-hmm.
Because our initiation was 5 chops to the chest. And it was me and this other guy getting them at the same time. You're supposed to get them at your third practice. Both of us did it at our second because we were just ready to get going. And so he chopped me, and I was like, ooh, that was pretty rough. And then he chopped the other guy, and he no-sold it. And so I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to no-sell it, I'm going to no-sell it. And let's just say by number 5, I was on the floor, and he was still no-selling. And it,
Hard as nails.
but
When we
after the 5th one, the whole school is like just ambushes you in a big group hug. It was like a big family over there. There's a
fantastic.
lot of good down there.
I remember there was one time I went to this open day, and we were doing everything. We were rolling, doing whatever. So I went to go for a forward roll, threw my momentum behind it. As I went, slipped on the mat, and just as I rolled, the back of my head spikes, and I just get up and no salad, just play it along, and nothing like that happened. We get into the ring at the end, and we were doing our bumps, and they always say when you hit your first bump on a mat, you know whether or not you're gonna go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the same with you. The minute I hit that mat, I was like, "Yep, let's go." I wasn't maybe
Mm-hmm.
feeling that the next couple of days because I couldn't move. I was in
Absolutely
absolute
not.
agony. But we got to the end, and the trainer, who's a big guy called his name's Damien Corbin. He wrestles more or less around the UK scene, and hopefully I want him to see him go to America soon. He was there with us, and he was the coach at the time, and he had wrecked a couple of ribs from a match at the weekend. So Corby had said, "Okay, who wants a chop?"
Uh,
And so we went. Okay, so there was me and about 6 other people. I think there was about 2 girls and 4 guys.
no way this
Um,
goes wrong. No way this goes wrong.
the girls were like, "No, no, no, we're fine." I had known the guys. I'd been going to shows for years, and these guys had been on them. So I went, "Oh yeah, I'll go for one." So there was another trainer there. I'm not. It's better off me not saying his name. Um, so he chopped the other 4 guys or the other 3 guys, and they came to me. And Damien or Corby just pushes him to the other side and goes, "My go!" And it's like double the size of this other guy that's been chopping everybody else. And Corby goes, "This is for all the times that you booed me at shows," and just proper just handprint left on the chest.
Dude.
I bounce off the ropes, come flying back with momentum, and I'll never forget just the next couple of days me going to like gym in school with like a massive handprint just on my chest because it stayed.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
they.
it was absolutely crazy.
That's the craziest thing to me about wrestling. The things that look like they hurt like hell barely hurt, but the things that look like you could take them all day will cause your death within minutes. It's just crazy to me. This sport that we love
So
makes.
much. To sort of move it back
I love
to
it
the
for the story.
oh yeah, but everybody loves it for the storytelling, and we can tell this is bringing it back. That was a perfect transition to your FTW career, as I mentioned earlier, and you said yourself, you're a storyteller. You've been part of
Oh yeah.
theater, like you've mentioned, and you love the different things about the characters, and you've been having them in your head for years. What do you think it is about the storytelling that pulls you in, especially in wrestling, or is it just fun? because we all know that we can just get that little vibe and we just enjoy ourselves. So is it an aspect of you get a kick from it, or is it that you're happy seeing other people get kicks from it?
I think it's a combination of it just being fun and like just living when people enjoy what I'm doing. And like whenever I usually interact with people, usually it's along the lines of like I'll be the third guy out and they'll talk forever until they say something and I have a story to tell. So like whenever I'm telling a story, I'm pretty good at it, like the way I tell it usually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually when people will actually like include me in things growing up. Uh, is what I taught myself how to tell really good, interesting stories, and that's how I would get included in things pretty much. But then when I have people that actually want to listen to me, regardless of what I'm talking about, uh, it's like a whole different thing. Like with you guys, I know I'm making my life sound really depressing, and it is, but uh, I'm okay with it because I've lived through it and I'm good. But it's fine. But just I love stories. I like characters growing to be better than they are because I've always wanted to improve myself. I like characters interacting with each other in ways that I might never get to. I like being able to have a version of me that can flip off the top rope and take out three guys that have been bugging him for months. I just love big moments and big lines and big people that can live out things that most people don't get to. Because I think those are really special moments that are rare. And if I can make that happen for me or for someone else, I think that's just a big joy.
And I think that's amazing, sort of that whole standpoint. And this is what me and the Pinnacle talked about in the last pod, to an extent that within our characters, they are over exaggerated versions of us. So they are what we want to be, but we know we can't be that in the public eye. And from hearing you speak there, that's sort of the way that Adam would want Adam to be in a perfect world. So he would
Yeah,
want to be that confident guy that everybody, well, no, I can't say that everybody would look up to, because we do that in FTW. Like if we see that you
right.
post, everybody is sitting on the edge of their seat the whole way reading through it because we know it's going to be something brilliant, or we wait for a part two or a part three, whatever the case is. But
Appreciate
is Tyson Holly and Alan Duncan and all these other thousands of characters that you've made a slight exaggeration of what Adam would be if he had the confidence level that Adam should have?
it. I would say Alan Duncan is a lot closer to me than any other character I have. Because I have so Alan Duncan was just kind of going to be a played up version of me from the beginning, but then I kind of made him like more nuanced to this and like gave him more severe this than I had. Because Alan Duncan has this whole thing where you see in wrestling a lot, you see characters that are mentally disturbed or crazy people. And Alan Duncan has like a psychosis. He has like some mental issues that I actually dealt with before in my life, but I'm mostly good with that now. But Alan Duncan, I wanted to do like a serious version of that people aren't gonna look at as a stereotype or like something like that. And then Tyson Holly was was intended to be just my fun character that I just let loose with. But then I kept winning, and then I met some people that I figured I could put some really good stories together with. And I'm like, maybe we make him a little more serious. Because Tyson Holly, I was going to be a tag team guy. I wanted him to be in the tag team division and to get betrayed every other month. Because he is supposed to be really naive and really like kind of childish. But then I started winning, and I had some guys that I was like, these are really cool dudes, and they're good at storytelling too. Because I wasn't used to people being able to tell stories at around or better than the level I can tell stories. So I was like, this can be some really cool stuff. And then in a third league I'm in, I have Pierre Saint Damien, who is an Australian Indiana Jones, and he is absolutely ridiculous. I pump as much nonsense into him as I possibly can, and I love just being ridiculous.
And I think that's the whole point of, as we've been talking the whole time, FTW and other prediction leagues were brought for fun and brought for enjoyment and camaraderie. No matter what we say in a promo, we know when the minute that promo goes off or anything else, and we're back to Connell Gardner and Adam and Robert Haywood and Caleb Hampton. We're them people again. We're not the chosen one. We're not Tyson, Holly Allen, Duncan, Hollywood Haywood. So just as we finish up, I want to sort of ask two last questions. First of all, I want to ask, who do you feel has helped you tremendously through your time at FTW? And the last one would be, what's next?
So I would say a lot of people have helped me out a lot. I know Byron brought me over here to a space where I could be more myself. And I know everybody puts a lot of praise on Byron, but he does a lot of work and he really is there for you when you need it. Draven was one of the first people to get me to do video promos, which I usually prefer written promos because I can be spot on and perfect with it and double check this, typo check that. I can make sure that this is the exact product I wanted. But with video promos, you can be so much more emotional and get your point across. And I think there's a lot of value to both. And I try to see who does what better. And so because I do a lot behind the scenes. I try to be that guy that people help bring out of that helps people get out of their shell. I try to be that guy. Haywood is one of the guys that helped me a lot too with that.
And that's the same with me. He was detrimental. I keep using that word detrimental, but I don't mean it. He was one of the guys that came in. When I first came in, I think I'd done one promo, and he saw it and he instantly DM'd me and was like, we need to do something, or we need to get together, because he wants to bring the best out in us. And I don't think he gets the praise that he probably should, because not many people know how close we would be to him and how close that he, or what he wants to do for everybody's character in the company. But I think that was a very good point of bringing Rob up, because him and Byron, as much praise as Byron gets, they're overlooked for maybe stuff like small little tiny stuff like that, where they message us to be like, oh, I think maybe, like for me and you, I think maybe Tyson would be your next good move, or this whole 7S stuff, which in my eyes has been a brilliant story so far. But if you want to carry on with the point that you had.
Yeah, with 7S, I think it's been a pretty good story. I've enjoyed it. I'm trying to work off of what he's doing, and he's working off what I'm doing, and DC's doing his thing, and I think we're all working together to make a pretty good story happen. The people I care so little about how good I do, because I know I can kind of promo when I need to, and I know I can write this, and I have a reputation as the idea guy. So if I have an idea I think will be good for this person, I'm bothering them, and stuff like that. I'm trying to be the guy that helps other people and help them get up to a level if I can. And I don't know if that's presumptuous of me. I don't really care, because I just like helping people just in general. And the last question you said, you're going to have to remind me.
It was what's next for Alan Duncan, Tyson Holly, or Adam himself.
Adam is going to be working too much. But I am starting. I'm going back to college next week to be a math teacher, which I think will be a very good use of what I want to do. Alan is gonna do what Alan does. He might have a title match. Alan, for me, has done just about everything I could imagine him doing. So Alan's the kind of character that at this point I'm just waiting for the next thing to come for him. Tyson, his end goal when I created him was to join every single tag team in FTW, which is a ridiculous thing, but it's such a fun idea to me. So like probably try to make more connections, get rid of 7S, maybe hit up that world title when he gets done with that, if I can get out of this dumb wheelchair. Which has been more difficult than I expected.
It always is, mate. It always is. Like, I remember I got kidnapped, and trying to get back from that was, it was a bloody nightmare. I'll never be able to come back from that. I've got one last request, if you may. We have to say something at the end of every FTW broadcast, but you know me. I'm the lovable rogue. I'm the chosen one CPG. I don't play by 7S rules. So there's a little phrase that I've been saying the last couple months, and it's known. Do you know what I'm on about?
I am familiar with what you're on about. I don't tend to use the language you do, but I do absolutely agree with the point that you're going to make. So I'll Tyson Holly my own version up.
Okay. Work away.
If you're okay with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the second ever episode of the Chosen Chronicles with none other than Tyson Holly, Adam Brotherton, Alan Duncan, whatever you want to call him. He's here. He's been with me. He's been absolutely fantastic. I'll pass it on over to him so that he can sort my little phrase out to finish us up.
May Trey go away and have a terrible day.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Adam, it has been my pleasure. Thank you very much for being my second guest on the Chosen Chronicles. Ladies and gentlemen, that is us. That is all the time we have for this week. If Adam wants to cover his ears just for a second.
Oh no.
I will say what I think. May Trey go fuck himself, and may you have a fantastic week. Ladies and gentlemen, the chosen one, Tyson Holly, are out.